Stick around to learn how to create your own custom models like this. I'm starting off with some HTML and CSS for a basic website, just so we have something to use our model on. I also have some images here that I got from Pexels and Andro, links are in the description. We're making a pretend ice cream delivery service. If I go down here, we can choose one of these 3 flavors to order. Our goal would be to make these cards clickable, and when we press this order now button, we want to show a modal informing the user that they successfully ordered or that their order was denied. Let's get started. For this to work, we need to write some JavaScript. So I'm creating a new file and calling it modal.js. And as is standard, I'm linking it at the bottom of our body. First of all, let's make a variable and call it order button and get our order button element using document.querySelector and querying for order button class, since this is the class we have on our order button. Now we can make it do something when we click on it. For this, we will add an event listener which takes a couple parameters. The event, which will be click, and the function that gets called when the event is fired. For the function, we will write some parentheses, an arrow made out of equals and greater than sign, and some curly brackets. This is what's called an arrow function. We're gonna have a more of an in-depth look at it soon on the channel, but for now all you need to know is that here in the curly brackets is where we will write all the things we want this function to do. Let's make it open a dialog. We can use a built-in JavaScript function for this. We just write alert, and then in the parentheses the message we want to show. Something like your order has been confirmed. And there we go. We got a model to show with just that one line of code. This is an okay solution, but we can style it to suit our needs, and the style of the model depends on the browser, so it's not even consistent. I'm gonna show you how I will style the model, but you can and should come up with something you like and try to make it in a similar fashion. First of all, let's have our model in the middle of the page, not at the top. Let's make everything else around it darker. Let's have a title at the top and then an image next to our message underneath. Then a button at the bottom and an X for closing the alert in the top right corner. This is what we will create now using HTML. We can write this anywhere within our body really, but I'll do it down below the footer just above the script tag. Let's start off by making a div with a class of modal container, inside of which we will create a div with a class of modal. Now at the top we want a title, so let's add a p with a class of modal title. Under the title we will have a div with a class of modal body, which will contain an image. To the right of the image we will have the message, so a p element with a class of modal message. Underneath, we will put a div with a class of modal controls, in which we will have our one button for OK, so a button with a class of OK control. Finally, we will add an image element that will serve as our X to close the model, setting the source to the X icon I found on flat icon, link in the description, and the class to close. Let's style our model now. I'll quickly go over this so the video doesn't get too long, and since you will probably make yours different. Firstly, the modal container, which we set to position fixed to make it always in the center of the screen. We give it a black background color with low opacity. We also want it to appear in front of everything else, so we set a positive z index like 1. Now the model itself, we want to be centered within its container, so we center it using absolute positioning, adding some padding and a small box shadow. For the title, just some padding, font size and weight. Now for the model body we use display flex and set the flex direction to row and align items to the center. For the image itself we set some width and some right margin. For the message I put a max width of 400 pixels, just so the model itself doesn't stretch out when we zoom out or view it on larger screens. This way it will always stay the same shape. For the model controls we simply want to align its text to the right. This is so the buttons within are aligned to the right. Our OK control will have to have display inline block in order for it to be affected by its parent's text align. And finally close, which we will place in the top right corner using absolute position and add cursor pointer to make it appear clickable. There we go. It was a bit of work, but we have our model now. But we probably don't want it to start open. We probably want it to close when we click OK or the X. Also, a cool thing to do would be to make the page not scrollable while the model is open. So let's do that. Let's make a couple utility classes we will use. The show class will just have display block and we will use it to show our model. I'll go up here to the model container and make it display none by default. The noScroll class will just have overflow hidden and we will use this on our body element to stop the scrolling when necessary. Let's hop on over to our JavaScript file and at the top get our model container and store it in a variable. Same way we did for our order button. Now we can make an open model function. All it will do is add the showing class to our model container and add the noScroll class to our body. Then we make the close model function, which will simply do the opposite. Remove the showing class from model container and remove the noScroll class from the body. Up here where we wrote our button click event and called alert, we can replace that with open model. And for our OK button and close button, we do a very similar thing. First we get them into a variable using the document.querySelector, and then we add event listeners for click to each one. We don't even need an arrow function here, just write the name of the function and it's all done. Let's check it out. Awesome, it opens and closes nicely. Now let's make it open only when a flavor is selected and also adjust the content based on the flavor. Let's add a utility class for when we select a flavor card and call it selected. We're moving the card up a bit, changing the color to a green and a few other things to mark the card we selected. These are the flavor cards I prepared. As you can see, they have a class of flavor card and also a data flavor attribute set to each of the flavors. Now let's also get our cards here at the top with document.querySelectorAll, passing in the class of our cards, which is flavor card. We also want to make another variable which will simply hold the value of each card that is selected. By default, it starts with null since no card is selected. Then we can loop through each flavor card using the forEach method, and for each card we want to add an event listener to it. The event is click, and for the function we will again write an arrow function. Each time we click on a card we want to either add the selected class while deleting the selected class from other cards, or remove the selected class from the card if the card was already selected. So if card does not contain the selected class, for each card in all cards remove the selected class, then add the selected class to this card. Then we put the value of the card's data flavor attribute to the selected variable. So card.dataset.flavor. And if the card does contain the selected class, we just remove the selected class from it and put null in the selected variable. With that, we can now select cards and we have the selected flavor saved in a variable. We can use that when we open our model to customize its contents. For example, we want the order to be successful or denied, so we can make the model appear in those two ways. To do this, we will add a parameter to the openModel function, isSuccessful. And in there we will check if it is successful, and if it is, we will customize our title, image and message. Of course, we first need to get those elements into variables, so we do that at the top just like we did before. And I'm just gonna quickly write some text for a successful order, as well as change the image's source to a confirmed image. Else, if the order is not successful, we just change the text and image source accordingly. This is all up to you to write. There we go. Now we can open a success and a denied model. To actually open one or the other, let's come up to our order button event handler. We will use a switch statement to check the value of selected and open the right model that way. So in case chocolate is selected, we open the success model. We write open model true. Same in the case that strawberry is selected. But let's say we roll out of pistachio, so in case pistachio is selected, we will open a denied model. So open model false. That's all. I know it was kind of a lot, especially if you're new to this. Of course, if you didn't catch all of that, that's fine. Take your time learning this stuff. Anyway, let's see how it looks. So the model doesn't open until we have a flavor selected. When we select strawberry, we have a confirmed order. And when we select pistachio, order denied. Awesome. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next one.